Hello everybody, and happy Halloween! It is finally here, my video that I've been waiting to share with you guys. So, let me because you're probably confused. Well, this is why I did the blood video, like how to make edible vegan blood, because I needed it for my costume. And you'll find out later why. So pretty much what this video is going to be about is going to be me dressed up in my Halloween costume. And the character that I am, I actually wrote a story. My cat. I actually wrote a story about the character that I am because my character's kind of made up, that I made up. So my character is a masquerade lady who is also bloody. So I've always wanted to go to a masquerade ball, and so I thought, you know, why not be a masquerade lady for Halloween this year? But at the same time, I kind of wanted to be scary and creepy and just kind of gory because I love Halloween. I wanted it to be Halloween-like. So I just combined the two together, and I'm like, so since I'm going to be this character, why not make a backstory for this character? So I did. I dedicated a whole day to write this story, so I hope you guys really like this story. That's what this video is. And disclaimer, I am not an author, I am not a storyteller. Like, I've had many stories in my head growing up, and I've kind of had like different story ideas, but I've never actually like written a story. So this is definitely not a professional story. Pop your favorite bottle of wine, get your favorite glass, and pour some potion while we, you know, tell a story tonight. Beautiful. So, let's set that there. I don't know why I'm talking in a crappy British accent. Let's get on to our masquerade story. So if you guys don't know, my name is Cordelia, and I'm going to show you guys my story. I feel like I won't be at peace if I don't tell you my story. So here it is. Alright, so let's get this real. So this is one of those fake books that like has a little compartment in it. I'm just kind of making it seem like it's a big book, so bear with me because this is kind of awkward. So the story is called The Bloody Masquerade Massacre, written by the Paranormal Princess. Cordelia was never one of the prettiest girls growing up. Though she had a heart of gold, she had a hard time finding love. It was one thing she truly wanted in life. So when the town announced they were going to have their very first annual masquerade ball, she was so excited because she knew that she could let her personality shine through first, without having her face being shown. She was a very creative being, and coming from a poor family, she always made her own clothes, so making her costume was easy. She gathered a few beads, feathers, fabric, and red paint for her mask. For the dress, she sewed together a bunch of old red, ivory, and gold fabrics together she had collected over the years. The night of the masquerade ball, her mother curled and pinned Cordelia's hair. And at the end, Cordelia looked absolutely stunning. Thank you, darling. The most beautiful she's ever looked in her life. When it was time to attend the masquerade ball, she was certain she was going to find her one true love that night. The ball was held at the home of the most richest family in Venice, Italy. It was a gorgeous and perfect place to hold a masquerade ball. It had a huge ballroom that had a large crystal chandelier hanging in the center of the room, marbled floors, purple and golden drapes all around. The front of the room was surrounded with big windows and doors that led out to a balcony with a view of the garden and a big lake below. The room was filled with music that was coming from a live orchestra. Everyone was joyfully mingling. Rich or poor, it didn't matter. The masquerade ball was for anyone who wanted to attend, as long as they had a mask to conceal their identity. When Cordelia arrived, she was starting to get a little nervous while walking through the hall to the ballroom. She started to think, what if no one will like her or ask her to dance? Or what if she throws up out of nervousness? But then she got one last look in the mirrors that were in the hall leading to the ballroom doors and saw how beautiful she looked. Her confidence grew as she walked through the doors. Once she stepped foot into the ballroom, all eyes were on her. She knew that she had nothing to worry about. As time went on, she learned that the rule to the masquerade ball was that you're not allowed to take off your mask to reveal your identity until midnight, which made this a little exciting for her, making it seem like a game. Meet someone and get to know them first, then you get to see who's behind the mask. As she was talking to a couple of other younger ladies and getting compliments on her costume, she spotted a man making direct eye contact with her. She thought his costume complemented hers completely. Even though she could see only half of his face, she thought he was the most handsome man she's ever laid eyes on. The piercing hazel eyes, sharp jawline, with a little bit of stubble, and perfect hair to pull it all together. He was wearing a black tux with a red silky tie, and a black mask with red and gold accents. She knew he was the one. He came over a little unexpected when the first slow song of the night came on and asked her to dance. Cordelia was never a good dancer, but it seemed as if she was floating while on the dance floor with him. Everyone stopped and watched the duet, but Cordelia didn't mind, as her eyes were only focused on the alluring eyes of the handsome mystery man. The song stopped and everyone began applauding, and when the next song came on, everyone joined in on the dance floor. The mystery man said to Cordelia that it was too loud, and he would like to go take a walk and talk with her. Cordelia agreed, and they snuck out of the party and snuck past the guards into the garden. They ended up on the beach, in the middle of the garden, which overlooked the lake and the full moon. The moon was much bigger than normal that night, but made the evening even more romantic. She asked how he knew his way around the mansion. He told her that it's his parents' home and that he grew up there, but now lives on his own a few miles away. The mystery man pulled off his mask, revealing his face, and told Cordelia that his name was Stefan. He was as good-looking, if not better-looking, than what Cordelia had imagined. This made her a little bit nervous because she knew she wasn't competition to any average girl at the party, let alone in the world. He told Cordelia how beautiful she was and what an amazing dancer she was. Cordelia chuckled to that statement, saying she's never danced in her life, and that surprised Stefan. He didn't believe her. He just assumed she was trying to play hard to get and adding a little bit more mystery to herself. Stefan asked her to take off her mask, but Cordelia said that it's before midnight and you aren't supposed to reveal your face until after midnight. Stefan smiled and put his mask back on. He then took her hand and kissed it. This made Cordelia smile, and her face blushed as red as the color of her own blood. They heard a few people coming out onto the balcony, and Stefan told her to follow him somewhere that's a little more private. They ended up in the bedroom that was his before he moved out of his parents' mansion. The two sat down on his sofa by the fireplace, and he poured them both a glass of wine, where they could talk at ease and get to know each other a little bit better. Yummy wine. He learned about her self-consciousness and growing up not being wealthy. She let out a lot about herself to Stefan after her second glass of wine. She felt comfortable around him. He didn't judge, he just nodded and talked about his own life and problems. They laughed and cried together, and after he would wipe her tears, he would lean in for a very passionate kiss. It was only one night with him, and she was already falling very hard. After 2 hours of chatting and laughter, the clock in Stefan's old room started dinging. It was midnight. Gazing into each other's eyes, Stefan takes his hand down Cordelia's face, gives her another kiss on the lips. When he pulls away, he puts his hand on her mask to lift it up. This was it. The truth was being revealed, and Cordelia's heart was pounding. It was pounding so hard, she'd be surprised if Stefan didn't hear it beating. Soon, flashbacks of Cordelia's past was coming to her head. Kids mocking at her crooked nose, the big mole on her forehead, the scar on her cheek from when she fell as a child. Everything she was insecure of was going to be revealed. Once that mask finally came off, she noticed Stefan had an expression on his face that she'd never seen yet. She was so nervous and ended up asking him if he was alright. Stefan snapped out of the look and said that she had the most beautiful eyes he's ever seen, and she was better looking without the mask. Cordelia started tearing up and they kissed again. Stefan went to go pour another glass of wine and noticed the bottle was empty. He told Cordelia to wait in the room while he goes out and gets them another bottle of wine. While waiting for Stefan, Cordelia starts daydreaming as she watched the fire in the fireplace. She dreams about her future, her wedding, and her and Stefan's future kids. She felt so happy and so in love that night that she couldn't help but smile. As she kept daydreaming, she noticed it's been a while since Stefan has left, and she knew it was a big house, but knew he would have been back by then. She thought maybe he needed help, so she put her mask back on and started to wander the house looking for him. She thought he maybe needed help, so she put her mask back on and started to wander the mansion looking for him. She ended up finding the wine cellar, but couldn't spot Stefan anywhere. Frantic, she thought he was on his way to the bedroom. She hurried up and tried to get back there, trying to think up excuses on why she left the room. Walking past the main entrance of the house, she spotted him talking to a beautiful woman who appeared to be pregnant. The woman looked so happy to see him. Cordelia, now curious, decides to hide behind the wall to eavesdrop. Stefan said how surprised he was to see his wife, Rosella, there, and she said that she couldn't sleep without him, so she came to spend the night with him. She asked if he got to dance with any lucky ladies, and he mentioned there was one, but she was hideous and he felt bad for her, so he asked her to dance with him. His wife replied of what a gentleman he was, as she was chuckling at his comment. Cordelia's heart dropped. She was confused, angry, and heartbroken. Stefan then told his wife that his mom would love to see her, and that he had a present for her and told her to wait in the ballroom for him. Cordelia didn't know what to do, but she hurried back to his room. She ran to the sofa and started bawling. A few minutes later, Stefan returned with a bottle of wine in hand. He saw Cordelia crying and asked her if she left the room, as if he knew. All Cordelia said was what he did was wrong, and that she's going to tell his wife all about his night. Stefan slapped Cordelia in the face and told her not to tell a single soul, and that he didn't even know she was going to come. But Cordelia didn't listen. She started running out of the room, but Stefan grabbed her by the arm and threw her on the bed. Cordelia let out a scream, but no one could hear her. Everyone was on the opposite side of the mansion. She tried kicking and squirming to get away, but Stefan was too strong. While holding her down, he took the corkscrew out of his pocket and stabbed her as hard as he could, all through her neck, until she was bleeding. She kept telling him to stop, but he wouldn't. It looked like as if he was having too much fun slaughtering her to death. With every drop of blood that splattered on his hand, he would lick it off while he stared at her and smiled. Cordelia tried biting his hand, but he would pull on her jaw and scratch her face up with the corkscrew. He made a scratch similar to a scar on her other cheek. He said she was now at least symmetrically ugly. Then he would stab again a few times in the chest. Cordelia was too weak to speak or move at this point. The tears that were coming out of her were turning into blood. She just kept seeing darkness. Then she would see some moments where he was licking her blood off of his hand. Then back to darkness. As Stefan started to calm down, taking the last stabs, he fell on top of her out of exhaustion. He started to look at her and caress her face and neck, looking at all the wounds he just made on her. Then he started licking some of the blood off of his hands and sucked some blood out of her wounds on her neck like a hungry vampire in the night. He waited a few moments to see if she would move. When he tried to feel for her pulse, he felt nothing. He wrapped her up in a blanket and shoved her under the bed. He cleaned himself up, sprayed some cologne on, then returned to the party as if nothing happened. He gave his wife the bottle of wine he took upstairs for Cordelia. It was Rosella's favorite kind of wine. He mentioned it was to celebrate after their baby is born. Everything seemed normal and nobody asked about the girl from earlier that night. Luckily for Stefan, his parents had a guest house that him and Rosella stayed in. While his wife was sleeping, he went back to his parents' mansion to his old room. He took Cordelia's corpse out of the blanket. He looked at her without a second thought, got an axe that was by the fireplace, and started chopping her up. He threw her body parts in the fire piece by piece. When she was all in ashes, he cleaned her up the best he could, and no one ever knew. Cordelia's mother and father were the only ones that knew something was wrong when she didn't return the next morning. There was a massive storm later that day. Cordelia's parents were looking for her no matter how bad it was out. They weren't going to lose their only child. They decided to go on their way to the mansion where the masquerade ball was held to see if anyone had seen her. While walking over a bridge, Cordelia's mom tripped and fell into the river, which had a powerful current because of the storm. Her father went in after her and tried to save her, but they both died from drowning that night. Nobody ever found out about what happened to Cordelia, the beautiful girl that stole the show in the beginning of the masquerade ball. Years went by, and everyone seemed to forget about it. Except it is said that every year during the annual masquerade ball, sometimes people will wander the halls of the mansion, and they will hear screams of a distressed woman. Some have even witnessed Cordelia herself dressed up so beautifully, but when you get a look at her face, it's all bloody and scarred up as if she was burned. One man even swore that he's seen a beautiful woman out on the dance floor, and she came to him and asked him to dance, and when he walked her out to the center of the floor, he turned around and she was gone, and never seen her again. Now the mansion stands as a bed and breakfast, and a newlywed couple stayed in the very room Cordelia took her last breath in. When the husband went out of the room, the wife seen the apparition of bloody Cordelia, warning her to be careful with him. Frightened, the wife told her husband what she seen. He, of course, just said it was only her imagination. He convinced her that she was just exhausted from a long week, and she forgot about the incident later that day. The next morning, after the husband showered, he complained to his wife that his back was burning. The wife looked and freaked out, saying there were scratches that looked like it had said, "He's married." He didn't believe her, so she took a picture on her phone and showed him. They cut their honeymoon short and never returned. Nobody knows who this mystery masked woman is or why she haunts the mansion, but it is said she only shows herself to women warning them about men, or she will show herself to dapper young men, seeming as if she is trying to find her one true love. And that is the end. That is why I, Cordelia, am so bloody. I'm so scarred. And why I still haunt the mansion. Happy Halloween.